Hello and welcome to our video about the top 10 video games of the 1980s. The 1980s were a groundbreaking decade for video games, as technology advanced and video games became increasingly popular. In this video, we'll be counting down the top 10 video games of the 1980s, based on their impact, popularity, and influence on the industry. Number 10, Pac-Man. Coming in at number 10 on our list is the classic arcade game Pac-Man. Released in 1980, Pac-Man quickly became a cultural phenomenon, with its simple yet addictive gameplay and iconic character design. With its success, Pac-Man spawned numerous sequels and spin-offs, as well as merchandise and even a television show. Number 9, Space Invaders. Next up at number 9 is another classic arcade game, Space Invaders. Released in 1978, Space Invaders became a massive hit in the early 1980s, thanks to its innovative gameplay, challenging difficulty, and unique sci-fi aesthetic. Space Invaders set the standard for arcade shooters, and it continues to influence the genre to this day. Number 8, Super Mario Bros. At number 8 on our list is the game that cemented Nintendo's status as a major player in the video game industry, Super Mario Bros. Released in 1985. Super Mario Bros. Revolutionized the platformer genre with its colorful graphics, catchy soundtrack, and tight controls. With its success, Super Mario Bros. Spawned numerous sequels and spin-offs, as well as a cartoon series and a feature film. Number 7, The Legend of Zelda. Next up at number 7 is another classic Nintendo game, The Legend of Zelda. Released in 1986, The Legend of Zelda was an open-world adventure game that allowed players to explore a vast, interconnected world filled with secrets, puzzles, and enemies. The Legend of Zelda introduced new concepts like non-linear gameplay and save files, and it remains a beloved classic to this day. Number 6, Metroid. At number 6 on our list is another influential Nintendo game, Metroid. Released in 1986, Metroid was a sci-fi action-adventure game that allowed players to explore a large, interconnected world filled with hidden secrets and power-ups. Metroid was a groundbreaking game that introduced concepts like backtracking and exploration, and it paved the way for many future games in the genre. Number 5, Donkey Kong. Coming in at number 5 is another classic Nintendo game, Donkey Kong. Released in 1981, Donkey Kong was the first game to feature the character Mario, who would go on to become a gaming icon. Donkey Kong was a simple yet challenging platformer that introduced many of the tropes that would become common in the genre, such as jumping, climbing, and avoiding obstacles. Number 4, Castlevania. At number 4 on our list is the classic action game, Castlevania. Released in 1986, Castlevania was a gothic horror game that tasked players with exploring a haunted castle filled with monsters and traps. Castlevania featured challenging gameplay, catchy music, and an unforgettable atmosphere, and it remains a beloved classic to this day. Number 3, Mega Man 2. Now we're in the top 3, and coming in at number 3 is Mega Man 2. Released in 1988, Mega Man 2 was a side-scrolling action game that introduced players to the character of Mega Man, a robot who could absorb the powers of defeated bosses. Mega Man 2 featured memorable music, challenging gameplay, and innovative level design, and it remains one of the best games in the franchise. Number 2, Tetris. At number 2 on our list is the puzzle game that took the world by storm, Tetris. Originally released in 1984, Tetris became a global phenomenon when it was included as a pack-in game with Nintendo's Game Boy handheld console. Tetris featured addictive gameplay, simple yet elegant visuals, and a memorable soundtrack, and it remains one of the most popular games of all time. Number 1, The Legacy of the 1980s. And finally, at number 1 on our list is the legacy of the 1980s itself. The 1980s were a transformative decade for video games, as the industry exploded in popularity and creativity. With the introduction of new technologies like the arcade machine, the home console, and the personal computer, video games became more accessible and diverse than ever before. The 1980s gave us some of the most beloved and influential games of all time, and their legacy continues to inspire and influence the industry today. That's our list of the top 10 video games of the 1980s. We hope you enjoyed this trip down memory lane and that it reminded you of some of your favorite games from that era. If you have any thoughts or memories of these games, be sure to share them in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.